Johnny Inspired on social media. I started a social media initiative, Johnny Inspired, a couple years ago, so that I could, and as you can see right here, that guy on the wall, he's kind of
Yes.
one of my, Jesus is a friend of mine. So I do some faith-based speaking as well it's a lot of motivation, inspiration. I try to take I've had 8 companies in 6 industries in my life that I've started. I've had highs and lows. I've been in the restoration business, the club business, the lending business, the media business. I mean, I've been everywhere. And now my end game and what fills my cup, Jake, is leading, speaking. I want to coach. I want to help guys, not only start a business, but also get rid of some self-limiting beliefs that people have been holding on to through their life and help them overcome and help bridge a gap between where they are and really where they want to be and what that purpose is they have.
That's so good. That's so good. Do you feel drawn specifically to guys? You mentioned guys, but it may be general for guys and girls, but just curious.
I think if I'm going to pinpoint a good friend of mine I've been working with a little bit, Chris, she's a lady. She's trying to help me hone in on specifically who I'd be talking to, because starting a company for me is very easy. Putting a brand together is fun. Marketing is fun. I can do it. But when it's me, and it's like, okay, John Laub, Johnny Inspired, it's like, I'm like a little bit like my self-limiting beliefs jump right in front.
Right.
I'm not qualified. I'm not good enough. I'm not this guy. I get in comparison. All the things I tell people not to do, I do. So Chris was talking to me and she says, hey, John, like, who are we talking to? She goes, and we kind of came up with, I'm talking to the 20 to 30-year-old young man that has their life in front of them, if I'm going to be targeting, and they're trying to figure out how to be a leader, a man, a father, a husband, not only an entrepreneur or a sale or an employee, but a professional. Like, there's a big difference between, a professional and a non-professional. And I don't care what you're doing. We can do it as a professional. When I speak to you, I want you to see a professional in front of you. No matter how new I am in this business, I want you to say, wow, this guy's got it together. Maybe that's how I speak or how I hold myself. Because a lot of guys just don't know the basic stuff, how to speak to people, how to introduce themselves, to hold integrity in what they say. So I would say the 20 to 30-year-old man, yes, because I see them. Like I do some talks with FCA, with some football, high school football teams on, kind of go over my testimony and my walk with FCA, then my fall and my rise with Jesus, because, I love talking to them, but ultimately it's for the young entrepreneur, because we need more men. We need to build up men. We need to build up young professional gentlemen that know how to be a father and a husband. And, that's vital.
Yeah, I love that. That's such in my heart as well. I've always had a heart for young men, and I guess because I see myself in that situation so many times, and wishing that I had the direction, wishing I had that voice speaking into my life. And because you're in that place of, I have no idea what to do. I'm just going to guess and put my best foot forward and hope it works out. But to know there's some strategic things you can do. And also in developing those core beliefs and those fundamental things like being able to shake a man's hand and look him in the eye and speak confidently.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
Yes. Right. How do you have confidence in that? And how, men, the biggest thing I have an issue with in business and in life is integrity with people's word. It's fallen off heavy. People will tell you what they want you to hear. And when I owned the lending business, I'm not trying to get off path here, but when I owned the lending company I made a lot of money in the mortgage business from 1997 to 2006. I was like a genius selling my company in January 2006 before the big fall. But I learned that there was what the biggest problem loan officers had. They make this money. They were afraid to tell people that they were declined, or they were afraid to tell people bad news. They actually would run from the call. They wouldn't just sit there. And how I found success was I'd be like, Jake, you know, hey, listen, I want to, let me tell you, I can't get you done right now, but here's some steps we should take so that we can move forward and we can procure this loan or whatever that may be. But there's a professional. When I talk about professional, I use that word a lot. I think being a gentleman and a professional, and you can intertwine those two, that's vital.
Right.
You know, in success, in who you are, who you stand, who you looking back, who's looking back at you in the mirror at night when you do the mirror test. Can you look at yourself? You know, are you calling people? Are you holding people? You know, if you tell them something, people expect you to hear from you. And it's a lost, you know, people just don't do that as much anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to put everybody in the box. I'm just saying it needs to be focused on, like, hey, stand to your word, you know?
Right. So. Right. And I love the solution focused mindset. And I think a lot of times, like you're talking about the lenders that didn't want to give the bad news, is probably because they didn't have a solution. They didn't have an answer. And it's just kind of like, well, good luck, you know. But if you were able to actually help direct them towards a solution or steps to take to finally get there, that gives you confidence in helping them. So I love the solution mindset.
No, there's a reason why I was one of the, I want to say, I don't want to ever say that I was the best banker, because there was bankers that did a lot more volume than me, but I was the most recognizable. And because I had media, like that was back when I was I wasn't allowing Jesus to kind of work through me. I was allowing all my frustrations, all the people that put these self-limiting beliefs on me, my stepfather, all these people that held me down and told me I wasn't good enough. And I was like, oh yeah. You see that vision board behind me, Jake? I don't have that there for you. It's there all the time. But the house on the bottom left, I want to live in. That's in Scottsdale. That's my AMG GTR right there. This is my vision board.
I love it.
My boat. It's $1 million boat, but I have a big God and I have a big personality, and why not? So I was always a goal setter, right? And I train people. I have a goal setting planner. I'm actually trying to get funding right now and a co-author. But it's called My GSP. It's the official goal setting mastery program. I created it just specifically, Jake, for goal setting. And it's so imperative that people sit down and take inventory where they are right now. Right. Take inventory. Like, hey, I am spiritually right now, you know, and I'm not going to church. Matter of fact, I'm not even praying daily. I don't have scheduled prayer time. I'm not praying with my kids, and I'm their father. You know, whatever. Let's take inventory in your spiritual life, your vessel, your physical life, your family life, your social life, and your career. Once you do that on this planner, just in those 5 areas, you date it, then you set new goals and you write them down and get specific. Specific goals are necessary, right? Be specific. So I says, well, I want to be rich. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, how rich?
$5,000 makes most people rich, right?
Yeah.
They're good. You know, or do you want to be wealthy and you want to have $50 million at 60 years old sitting there for generational wealth? I don't know. The bottom line is be specific and then put the action plan together to go achieve it. And so in the planner, it has daily action sheets. So you just put like 3 to 5 actions on each area, and then you go and you check them off. I've always trained my teams on it. And it's a phenomenal deal. Now I want to get it manufactured. I got a great design, logo. It looks great. I can't wait to open up my coaching business in the next couple months and utilize that with teams. You know what I mean, Jake? So, it's pretty cool.
That is exciting. Yeah. I mean, as a trainer, I've done personal training for 15 years, and obviously that's essential. People say they want to get in shape. Like, what does in shape look like to you? I mean, do you want to do bodybuilding, a marathon, just lose 20 pounds? So
You should. You and I will talk off this, and I'll show you the planner.
Oh yeah,
And I like to dial into you and learn from you a little bit. You know, you've been doing this. This is new to me. I feel like I really want to set people on a path. I do it naturally, I think, but to have a program set is something I want to develop. And I have pieces of it everywhere here in my office, you know, but I don't really have it dialed in. And so anyway, maybe you can help me with that.
Right. Well, you mentioned, I mean, I would love to, first of all, I'd love to do that. You mentioned just in passing, you mentioned your stepfather, and then you mentioned family somewhere in that last little bit, but that's something I feel like I want to dial in and hone in on, because the family unit, how does that impact the man and his development? and then how he engages other people and in the business world and how he sees himself. This is something I'm constantly looking at. And as we look at our culture, our society, and seeing that, I mean, I was always raised so close to my family. I'm still close to them. We were raised out in the country, so we didn't have a next door neighbor. Our next door neighbor was 5 miles away. So, you know, we were kind of forced to be close in a lot of ways. But that helped us so much in life, of having that security of the mom and dad we knew who loved us, that were constantly pouring into us, leading us in faith in the Bible and understanding Jesus. And so I feel like that plays a major role in your personal development, and in where we're at as a culture and as a society, and how it's impacting people in the way they do business. You talked about integrity. I think you can trace that back to their family roots. What do you think?
I think you dialed with that question. You dialed into the right guy. I mean, yeah. If I could be confident, or actually if I could give a message, right? Like I have all sorts of answers for you. And I'll give it to you kind of in a nutshell. Not really answers. This is just my take on my story. Okay, I'll give you my story. My story is I was a young man that I grew up with a single mother. When my father was an alcoholic. They divorced when I was like months old, because my dad kicked my mom in the stomach. Dad, if you see this, I'm sorry to bring this up, but whatever, you're a good man. And that was years ago, 48. But he kicked my mom in the stomach when she was 7 months pregnant with me. And my Uncle Tony, Italian uncles, I come from a big Italian family. Yes, he threw a beating on them. And next thing you know, they're divorced. So it's just me and my mom. And my grandfather came from Italy, started this apartment complex, ended up owning apartment complexes after being a dishwasher. I don't know how that happened, but forget about it. No, hey, we won't go there. He's a business guy. No. So we lived at the apartment complex, but my mom meets a guy. He's a guy that is an atheist. Not that that really matters, but it does matter. I guess I don't want to call it out and say, well, here's the thing. When you grow up with the people that, depending on where they're at with their faith, depending on where they're at with where their heart's at, where's their heart leaning? Are you leaning on, is this your playbook in raising me right here? Or is it the world? Is it your, whatever you grew up with? So I grew up with a guy that grew up himself in a bad space, and he didn't really show love to me, and didn't love me, and he was big, and he was mean, and he told me I was a loser, and he told me I was going to be like my father, and no good, and didn't pay child support back, and all this stuff. I just heard all the time what a POS I was, and it was intimidating, and I was scared. He poked my chest, that, you know, and I mean, I was just, you know, I remember him telling me one time, when you're 18, I'm going to kick the crap out of you. I think, what you do already, you know. But when I'm 18, I was 6'2", 240 pounds. You don't want none of it on my 18th birthday, because he turned me into a fighter. And see what happened with that relationship, to get to where your point is. I grew up to be I had a big defense on me. I had walls at an early age. At like 15, 16, 14, 13, I was smoking weed, 13, 14, 15, and junior high. Then my ninth grade year, my mom shipped me off to my aunt Denise and Uncle Paul, who are this Christian family in White Bear Lake, Minnesota, loving people. And they bring me to church, and I got my crappy grades to like a 3.0, B average. And my grandpa came in and he burned all my Motley Crue and AC/DC and Kiss posters and ripped up shirts I had. I was a dirtball. That's what they called my group of friends, was dirtballs. And so long story short, I was a fighter. I always had knives on me, butterfly knives. Jake, there's no reason why a 13-year-old kid should be proficient with butterfly knives and sneak out of the house and go down to downtown Minneapolis looking for trouble. There's no reason for it. My babies, like, I just think about me back then and how God was in my life the whole time, watching over me, keeping me safe. I mean, I really feel like because my heart was for him, right? Yeah. So here we go. I get a lot of betrayal going on, but I kind of straightened out a little bit. And I got back to the house and my mom and stepfather, and a guy at school that was working for a Christian-based national company was in our school, and he was working with students. And I'm not going to mention names right now because it's a pretty crazy story. But February 17th, 1987, he shared the 4 steps with me, 4-step book, which was how do you know that Jesus loves you, and for God so loved the world, he gave his only son, whoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have John 3:16, you know, our playbook as Christian men and as evangelists. And so I accepted Jesus that day, right? So I get home, I'm a little late. My stepfather ends up throwing a beating on me. Like we got in a fight, and the guy that brought me home and given his business card to my mother said, sorry, he's late. A couple guys at the gym were saying, hey, John's kind of troubled. I was beating up, like I was a sophomore and I was beating up seniors, you know. Like I was the toughest kid in the area, period. I was a fighter. Nobody could mess with me. Next thing you know, I had all of them walls from being pushed around for so many years. I would shadow box in my mirror downstairs in my room every night. And I would jog and trying to get in shape because I'm done with people calling me a fat loser. I mean, literally, I was picked on so much. And then when you go home and then you're picked on at home, you have no safety net. So I was my own safety net, right? Yeah. So with how that developed me was I became a Christian. Well, geez, I'm this, you know, Italian, decent looking, big guy that now is becoming a jock in high school, who was a dirtball in junior high. And all of a sudden I know that Jesus loves me. I let everybody know about Jesus Christ. And I brought the whole football team to God. I had a Bible. I carried my Bible in my high school with me. Like they did, the company that he was with actually came into our school with a huge camera crew, followed me around for a day, interviewed me, my mom, my stepfather, the guy I lived with. I lived with that guy's family the day I took the beating. I accepted Christ. Wow. I lived with that family for 1 year. My mom called him, said, can you pick up Johnny? He ran to his girlfriend's house because him and his stepfather got in a fight. So I was 16 years old then, almost 16, I think. I was 15, almost 16. I was a big kid. I was starting to grow. And the next thing you know, I lived with their family. It was like the biggest joy in the world, man. This guy loved me. He told me he loved me. He was the father of 3. That was the family. Like, they're like my aunt and uncle who lived far away, but I lived with them. They were like that family, but in my high school. So I was like, I was in cloud 9. I mean, I was taking the 4 steps book to the Minnesota State hockey tournament. I was on the steps of the hockey tournament in my leather jacket, giving these 4-step books out, bringing people to God, because I was like, hey man, you have no idea. Jesus loves you. And if you just accept him, you have no idea how amazing that he loves me. Like, I have a relationship with God. Like, you know, it was huge for me. And so this is a good story, but it also has some ups and downs. So yeah, I'm going to fast forward to my graduation. I graduated from high school. My senior year, I moved back home after my sophomore year. I lived with the family I lived with, Christian family, and I'd always go back and forth to their house. Like, it was a house I could go into like my home and eat the food. You know what I mean? So I go there and I lived with my best friend my senior year of high school to stay in this football district because me and the stepfather are back to, you know, wanting to kill each other. And at this point, I don't want to even hear his voice. I was just mean to my mom, I was tired of it, and I was a big boy, and I'm tough. I wasn't, you know. So I graduated high school, and, you know, so I've dealt with a lot of betrayal. I dealt with a lot of betrayal as a young man. So having this family and this man in my life was huge, and it was a blessing. But I popped around so many different houses, and I was always on my own, and I had a girlfriend that I loved and didn't love me back the same way, but play games with me. We were 7 years of back and forth, crying all the time. So I graduate high school. I go to sleep over at the guy's house that I accepted Christ with. I went to their house, and his oldest son was my age, and we worked together. And so we're gonna go. I'm just graduated, gonna have my high school party in a couple days, and I slept over at their house one night, and I woke up in the downstairs. I slept on the couch, and to him touching me inappropriately, that man that brought me to God. Okay, so I say that, and I don't mean to get weird on here. This is just part of my story. Yeah, it was the last final betrayal for me to know that not to trust anybody. And here I was, this young evangelistic. I thought, you know, I thought I was a young Billy Graham. I mean, that I look at it, boy, I was on fire for God. You know, I was that kid, because I had the full Italian hair. I was a good looking kid. I was a leather jacket. I was a football player. I was top 100 in the state. So I could get into kids quick, and they'd listen to me. Like, they would really listen to me, you know. I was the cool kid at all the events, the Christian events. I was the guy that, you know what I mean? I was a leader, and I loved it. It was my space, and I felt great. And so when he did that, I left. I took 2 days later after my graduation party, I took $650 I had for my party, and I went to California, left Minnesota, took a Greyhound bus, and nothing was ever the same after that. Like, I literally lived a carnal life, and I was hurt, and I didn't know where. I couldn't believe it. The conversation him and I had when that had happened right away, and I had somebody pick me up at 2 a.m. from his house, and his family's in the house, and I'm like, what? Oh my God! I'm questioning faith. I'm questioning everything. And I was 17. The 18th birthday was coming up.
Wow!
And I just graduated. So, and I didn't know what to do. I really didn't. It was really disgusting. It was really stressful. So when you say that, how we're made up, that my story is just one of, everybody has a story. We don't know some of people's inner secrets and what they dealt with. I dealt with a lot of betrayal, a lot of abuse, physical and emotional, verbal abuse. I saw my mother go through it. Then the one person that I actually was like, this is my guy. This is the leader.
Right.
This is it. He tells me he loves me, and I believe him, and I love him back. And for him to do that, and I know he's a flawed man, and we've never had a full conversation since at all. Like, we called him the next day, my mom, and his denial, all sorts of weird stuff. And I just ran from it. I ran, but it's part of my story. And so I lived a carnal life, and I went in the Army for a couple years after jockeying college ball. I had bad grades in high school, so I couldn't get a full ride anywhere, but I was recruited by hundreds of colleges back then. But I went in the Army. After I got out, I became an entrepreneur, and that's when I found the goal setting book. And the goal setting, there are 6 cassettes in this goal setting thing, and I found it. And Jake, I listened to it. I started setting goals, and I was a guy that dreamed. I used to jog by the big houses in the neighborhood, and I used to see the 3-car garages, the pretty cars, and all I would do, I literally was, before I ever knew about the law of attraction and putting things out to the universe, I just was.
Yeah.
If there was a woman I wanted, if there was something I want, I literally, nothing was going to stop my heart and mind when they met up for a purpose. There was nothing going to stop me. And so I knew what it was like to be a professional and a gentleman. That was within me, I think, because I was hurt so much. I never wanted to hurt anybody. I always wanted to communicate it. I don't think I was taught it. I think I was just like, I didn't want to hurt anybody. I want my kids safe. I want everybody safe around me. I didn't want anybody to feel what I felt. And I felt like I was strong enough to take that abuse, Yeah. And so going through that, and then getting into then I got in the lending business, and I blew up. And I got billboards. When I started making money, and I'm talking, 6 digits, 7 digits a year, some years. And I put billboards up. I was when I said most recognizable banker, I had ads everywhere. You couldn't, like, everybody knew. I always said, hey, no matter what you do to any of my sales staff from any company I've ever been involved with, I said, hey, if they don't know your number, they're not calling you. It's just remember that. They need to know your number. And I will go everywhere. I'm John Laub, mortgage banker. How are you doing? Mortgages up. John Laub, mortgage banker. John Laub, John Laub, mortgage banker. Hey, I'm your guy. Come with me. I got you. And I would enroll them into John Laub, the mortgage banker, that they could be with me. And so anyway, I lived, and then I got, and then just because of my life and the way I was divorced 3 times to my first wife. She married and divorced 3 times. We had 3 beautiful children. They're amazing. We still get along. I'm with my second wife, my 4th marriage. My second wife thinks it's funny. Yeah. And so, but ultimately, I got into cocaine, and I got into infidelity, and a lot of money, and a lot of craziness, and I lost everything. And it wasn't until I got to Charlotte, me and my ex were looking for a new place to go, started a business, and I started listening to Pastor Stephen Furtick when he just started Elevation Church here in Charlotte. It's a big church. I don't know if you know him. He's a great influencer, great preacher.
Yeah, I love it.
He's one of the best communicators.
He is, absolutely.
And so I got dialed in right away. As soon as I moved here, I Googled Christian churches. I just knew I needed God. Like, I knew I needed to search my God.
Yeah.
And God said, here I am. And I got rebaptized, publicly professed my faith in Jesus. And since then, earlier in this last decade, that's when I wanted Jesus to come show through me. That's kind of Elevation's, Pastor Stephen always talked about it, hey, we're the church. I'm the church. You're the church.
Exactly.
We are the church. Like, God has to work in me and through me. So if he's not working through me, like, then what good is it, right? What am I just going to hold all my eternal blessings to myself? No, you got to share it. So, I don't hit people over the heads with it. They just see it.
Yeah.
They feel it. I'm still John Laub. I still got it. I cuss a little too much. That's just, I try. I don't set me off too much. I might fight you still. I am 10 billion times better than I was 10 years ago and 20 years ago, but I'm still working in progress. Yeah. But that's what faith is, right? And Christianity is. It starts. It says, when you accept me, it starts. The work starts. It doesn't say it's finished. It says it starts. And so my goal is to, I've not seen the financial days I used to see, but I'm seeing happiness. Me and my kids are great. And my wife and I are working on our marriage, and because we've had all sorts of strongholds with alcoholism and things that we've been dealing with. She's worked through, and she's 13 months sober now. And so
I saw
it's hard for me. Yeah.
I saw y'all's broadcast the other day, just kind of launching your, what are you calling it?
Living Out Loud.
Yes.
my last name is John Laub. So when we got married, we're both kind of the same big personality, right? So Living Out Loud, hey, we're loud. And she's an ex-TV host. She's an ex-TV host, and she's one of Charlotte's, she's Shannon Fox on Fox Charlotte.
Okay.
So she's really good with the microphone. She's super witty, super funny. I like to think I'm funnier than her. But she'll tell a funny joke right now and kick me out of that space.
Right.
So ultimately we're on the rise right now.
I love it. Yes. And doing it his way, and I love how you're saying this, like, you may not be where you were financially, but the happiness is there, the joy is there, and ultimately that's what it's about. And I mean, that's my wife and I, we have one we do. We did it for a while consistently, and we kind of relaunched it recently, called the Living Room. And it's really just inviting people into our living room and saying, this is the way we do life. And I hope that it changes your living room.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
I'll check it out.
Yeah. We love it. We actually get fired up about it, and I go off preaching, but it's last night I was talking about just life in the Spirit and how that is where it all happens. And so with the coronavirus and everything that's going crazy now, then there's so much talk about fear and all the struggle. We're focusing so much on this attack. But what I was saying last night is let's put our conversation and our attention on Him, on the things of the Spirit. And all of a sudden we rise above the attack. We rise above the fear. And so it's not something we're trying to overcome fear. Is that it just naturally happens as we just live in Him and let Him live in us.
Yeah.
And it's just the only way we know how to live now. And it's the only way I believe that you're ever going to find true joy and true peace. But what I love is that when you're in Him and He's in you fully, then you have that established first, but then He takes you to the other places of financial prosperity and influence and all these things then you can get, and they don't destroy you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, if you were to lose, that's how I look at it. Like, what do you have if you lose all your wealth? Where are you at? Who's next to you? And I've been there. I've been at that spot where I've been lonely, lost things. I realized how little my circle was, how small it was without John Laub on top of the world and, the strip club and this and that. And, it's like just a fake way of getting. And every time, a lot of people, I know how I was when I was living that life. And I was always praying. I was always giving thanks. I just was making wrong decisions continually. It's just a weird place to be. I think people sometimes can, I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking that. A lot of people are, they love God, but they just don't want to live for him, right? They're just choosing to self-medicate with whatever it is, whatever it is. It can be drugs, alcohol, it can be, time away from the house, could be at your work. Self-medicating is just, till we are straight with ourselves. And like you said, the one thing I heard Pastor Stephen preach about this one time, and I loved it when he was saying it. He said, when Peter got out of the boat, when Jesus told him to get out of the boat, and the storm was going, the disciples were in the boat, and they did, and all of a sudden they wake up to the thrashing of the waves.
Right.
God and Jesus is standing on the water, and Peter's the one. He's the rock, right? He got up. He says, "I'll come to you," and so Pastor had a good point, and he just reiterated it a week or two ago on something. He said, Peter, it wasn't the wind in the verse that knocked Peter back into the water. It wasn't the wind. It was when he just took his eyes off Jesus. Right. And so it's at times like this when if we're not fixated on him, then we will fall in the water. Right. And we will get in the world's winds, and we will fall in that wind. We'll just be part of that whole cycle, that cyclone of of fear, the cyclone of uncertainty, the cyclone of the Dow Jones, the cyclone, and we just can't. You got to look at this as an opportunity. You think God didn't know this was happening? I tell all my friends, they think God is just surprised. Come on, let's get real. I tell people, if you believe in him, you believe in him. Then get in the book, okay? And there is a New Testament, and guess what? And this is a love story, and guess what? We win. And guess what? Get old, just chill, okay? Yes. It's not Helen Delmay. We win. We win. And so it's like I always say, hey, try Jesus. If you don't like him, the devil will take you back right now. And just try him. Yeah. And what did Billy Graham say? He said, I never met a man who accepted Christ that regretted it. Right. Never met a man that regretted it. So, I think it's one of those things, like you said, like we have to look at this as an opportunity right now. Yeah. What is that opportunity? Well, get in the book, get with your family, lead. If you're a man, lead your family, lead your kids. You are their spiritual leader. You are their spiritual hero. And if you're not, then now is the time. It's okay if you're not. That's what people got to remember. It's okay if anybody's watching this. It's okay if you are not where you think you need to be or want. It's okay, because now this next breath you have is the best opportunity to become that man, become that leader, become that person. Man, if you're breathing, you have a chance to just start now. And that is the biggest blessing that people always forget about. My post today was, you can stop playing that same tune over and over. There's a newer and better song to download. Yeah. And the idea behind that is stop playing that past. And Joel Osteen said it in Become a Better You, I think. That windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. If we keep looking back there, if we keep drowning in that stuff, if we keep letting our self-limiting beliefs that, hey, we can be the man that God made us to be, then we won't, if we just live in that space that we can't, then you're right. But if you live in a space where you got it, and I got this, thank you, God, thank you for this message right now. I'm listening to it for a purpose, for a reason, and I'm going to go out today, and today is the start of this new journey. And it's not easy to break old habitual ways, right, Jake? It's not. It's habitual. We're all habitual beings, man. We've all, so what a great day to start a new habit and work on it, write it down,
Exactly. Right, habit is kind of the golden word in the last few years. Everybody's talking about habits, and it's so true, because science is supporting it and saying that it's actually we're training our brain to think on this pathway, and but then the good thing is you can train your brain to think of it on a different pathway. And so I believe in all of that. It's so true, and it's so vital, I believe, for successful living. Where I try to bring it and connect it back to our faith is we have to understand who we are in the spirit, and that is your identity. While we're working on habits, while we're retraining our brain and renewing our mind, we have to remember that our identity doesn't change. He made us a new creation in Christ. That's who we are. And so if you mess up and if you go back to old ways, it doesn't mean that you're not born again, that you're not his. That's
Right.
eternal. That's solid. And now you can have that comfort of saying, that security. I know who I am, and I'm working on me still. I'm still working to get better, but he still loves me forever.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
and there's so much security in that.
It's okay. I keep this right in front of me as a reminder. It's on my computer. It's me. That's me at Elevation in 2012 getting baptized. So coming out of water. No, it wasn't that I wasn't a Christian, right? It was just that, hey, listen, it was just time for me to say, hey, I'm coming back to you. And
That's
hey,
so
I'm going to live for you. And hey, I'm going to let you, you're going to work through me. I'm going to publicly profess my faith. So I think baptism as an adult, if somebody isn't, is such a great opportunity for people to say with their kids or with themselves, just with, it all starts with us. You know, we can't expect our kids to be these hero Christian kids if we're not leading them and being their leader. And that's why it's important to, and I love talking to you right now because it's solidifying my target market. It's for young men to be able to become men.
Exactly.
You know, they spell men differently than for boys for a reason. You know, like a man is a man, and a man, you know, has to be strong, have a strong foundation. Otherwise, you know, we can be blown so easy one way or another. So.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, John, I appreciate your time and appreciate your story and the wisdom that comes from the journey. And so I know I've benefited so much from it. I know people have. And so what's a good way for people to reach out to you or to connect with you, the deal you and your wife, Living Out Loud?
Okay, so we're launching Living Out Loud, right, Shannon? Who's the funny one? Who's the funny one in this show? You? Oh, God, she was just walking by me over there. You know this year. She really isn't feeling well, so please put in your prayers. Her back and her neck, sleeping awkwardly just from all the stress. Just being here, downstairs, and laying down a lot, sitting down a lot, and she's super sore. So I'm going to go tend to her muscles.
Exactly. That's good.
If they want to reach me, hey, listen, follow me. You know, John Laub, Laub is my Facebook. But I also have the Johnny Inspired Initiative on Facebook. So it's a private. So go click on the group, join group, and then I will accept it. So if you want to put that on your link too, to say, you know, try to invite people to my Johnny Inspired page. It's just going to be full of, you know, inspiration. You can post some things on there if you want. I always tell people do 1 or 2 posts a week if you want. I'll try to, because I'm trying to build up as much content as we can for my brand. But I want to hear from good faith-based, you know, influencers, leaders that, you know, have something good to say, and they feel like we're sharing. And then on Instagram, it's Johnny_inspired. So you can go on any of them, and just like you did, Jake, when we message each other, just go on there, send me a message. You know what? I hear from people from high school that knew me as the fighter, the big guy, the one. I had no idea how much of a guard I had up, and how so many people were affected by me because I was a powerful young man. I was strong. I'm not trying to be cocky. I was a good-looking kid. I was, you know, don't mess with me. If anybody was to mess with me, I'd usually talk out of the fight right away saying, hey, I'm going to give you an opportunity to turn around and walk out of this deal. Because once it goes, you're going to lose. And they would, that's weird conversation. But I had these 3 Italian uncles that taught me how to talk, you know. So I would win most fights without throwing a punch. But I had this dang chip. And I'm, you know, I went to my 30-year high school reunion, and I'll end with this. But so the girl on there, she's so beautiful and was beautiful in high school. She looked at me and my wife just reamed me in the car on the way home from the reunion, because she looks at me and goes, you know, you told me I was ugly in high school. And I'm like, and she's been living with it, right?
Wow.
Oh, she's been living with that, right? Sorry, this is Declan. He did
Oh,
this.
that's fine. Love it.
But she's been living with that, and
Wow.
we don't. Our words are. And I posted this the other day, a thing on Johnny Inspired, and you can see it about our tongue and how the things that come out of our mouth are so powerful.
It is.
So we got to really watch it. It's a weapon, and so we got to have life come out of it. And I didn't, and I can't go live back there and and be sad about it and feel guilt, but because that's the enemy, right? But I do recognize it and go, all right, kids, do not treat anybody like that.
Right.
Do not be that guy. Love that person. So, but anyway, that's but that's just another little message. So, say hi to Declan. Declan, say hi to the Zoom. There you go.
That's too cute.
Yeah. But he's a noisemaker. But no, man, thank you for having me on, and let's connect, Jake, and do some do some stuff together.
That'd be good. That'd be good, man.
From you, man.
I love it. I love it. Same here. Well, hey, y'all have an awesome afternoon. Go rub your wife's neck. That'd be great.
Yeah, she's up there. Oh, hey, can you cut feedback off this deal? So I'll see you later.
All right,
Jake.
we'll see you.
Take care.